He reincarnates into the villain's body, but discovers the original hero was the real monster. I'm your anime, and let's go. Imagine dying and waking up in the body of a villain from your favorite novel, the guy everyone hates, the one destined to be brutally killed by the hero. Now imagine discovering that the beloved hero is actually a psychopath who manipulates everyone, and you're the only one who knows the truth. This is the story of Marcus Chen, who died reading a fantasy novel and woke up as Duke Valerian Ashford, the most hated villain in the entire story, and had to survive in a world where the hero is hunting him while slowly realizing the hero is far worse than any villain could ever be. Before we jump into this mind-bending story, smash that like button if you love villain protagonist stories where nothing is as it seems, hit subscribe because we break down the most twisted plot twists every week, and drop a comment telling me if you'd rather be the villain who knows the truth or the hero everyone loves. Now let's get into this masterpiece. Marcus Chen is a 32-year-old office worker with a boring life and one passion, reading fantasy novels. His favorite is The Hero's Righteous Path, a story about Alexis Luminar, a chosen hero who defeats the evil Duke Valerian Ashford and saves the kingdom from tyranny. Marcus has read this novel 7 times. He knows every plot point, every character, every twist. He's obsessed with how perfectly crafted the story is, how Alexis is the most noble hero in fiction, how Valerian is irredeemably evil. The novel is his escape from his mundane existence. On a rainy Tuesday night, Marcus is rereading his favorite scene where Alexis defeats Valerian in an epic duel. He's so engrossed he doesn't notice the truck running the red light, doesn't see it coming until the last second. The impact is instant, fatal. Marcus's last thought is regret that he'll never see how the sequel turns out. Then nothing. Darkness. Silence. Marcus expects to stay dead. That's how death works. But instead, he wakes up, opens his eyes to an unfamiliar ceiling, silk canopy, gold trim, expensive. He sits up and realizes he's in a massive bedroom, luxury beyond anything he's experienced. His hands look wrong, too pale, too refined. He rushes to a mirror and sees a face he recognizes instantly. Sharp features, silver hair, red eyes. It's Duke Valerian Ashford, the villain. He's inside the villain's body. Marcus stumbles back from the mirror in shock. This can't be real. He must be hallucinating, brain dying, dream before death. But everything feels too real, too detailed. The textures, the smells, the weight of his body. This isn't a dream. He's actually here, in the world of the hero's righteous path, in the body of the man destined to die horribly. Marcus knows exactly what happens to Valerian. In the novel, the Duke is exposed as a corrupt tyrant who tortures peasants, plots to overthrow the king, and tries to assassinate Alexis multiple times. Eventually, Alexis defeats him in single combat, cuts off his head. The entire kingdom celebrates. It's a triumphant moment in the story, except Marcus is now living it from the other side. He's the villain everyone wants dead. A knock on the door makes Marcus jump. A servant enters, a young woman who looks terrified. She bows deeply and asks if his grace requires anything. Her hands shake. Marcus realizes she's afraid of him, of Valerian. He tries to speak gently, but she flinches at his voice. She backs out of the room quickly. Marcus is alone again, processing. He knows Valerian is evil. The novel describes his crimes in detail. Torture chambers in the castle basement, political assassinations, plans to poison the king. But Marcus doesn't feel evil. He feels like himself. Does possessing a villain's body make you evil by default? Or is the body just a vessel? He needs information, needs to understand his situation. He explores the castle carefully. It's exactly as described in the novel. Same layout, same decorations, same oppressive atmosphere. But something feels off. The servants aren't just afraid, they're traumatized. They move like people who've seen horrors. Marcus finds what the novel called Valerian's study. Inside are documents, ledgers, records. He starts reading and his blood runs cold. The records detail everything Valerian has done, every crime, every cruelty. It's all here, documented in Valerian's own handwriting. The torture, the murders, the corruption. Marcus feels sick. He's in the body of a monster. But as he reads more carefully, something doesn't add up. The dates are wrong. According to the novel, Valerian's crimes span 20 years, but these records only go back 6 months. Before that, there's nothing. Just normal administrative work, tax collection, trade agreements, boring, noble stuff. Then 6 months ago, everything changes. The handwriting shifts slightly. The content becomes dark, evil. It's like a different person started writing. Marcus's mind races. He knows this novel inside and out. This discrepancy isn't in the story. The novel never mentions a sudden change in Valerian's behavior. It presents him as lifelong evil, born corrupt. But these records suggest something happened 6 months ago, something that changed everything. Marcus keeps searching, finds a hidden journal in a locked drawer. The lock is laughably easy to pick with the letter opener. Inside, the journal is written in the same handwriting as the old records, Valerian's original hand. The entries are normal at first. A noble managing his lands, caring for his people. Then 6 months ago, the final entry. It's frantic, terrified. Valerian writes that he met someone, a young man claiming to be a hero, Alexis Luminar. They spoke for hours. Alexis was charming, inspiring, convinced Valerian to support his cause, to help him change the kingdom. But something felt wrong. Alexis's eyes were cold. His smile didn't reach them. And when Valerian questioned one of Alexis's plans, the hero's mask slipped for just a moment. Valerian saw something beneath, something dark. The entry ends with Valerian writing that he needs to investigate Alexis. Something isn't right about the supposed hero. That's the last entry in Valerian's hand. Every entry after is different. The new handwriting, the evil content. Marcus stares at the journal. His world is tilting. Is the novel wrong? Was Valerian not always evil? Did something happen to him 6 months ago? Marcus spends the next 3 days investigating. He interviews servants carefully, gently, trying not to scare them. They're shocked that he's being kind. One elderly servant finally opens up, says the Duke changed 6 months ago. Before that, he was stern but fair. After, he became cruel, like a different person. The servant says it was right after the young hero visited. Marcus's suspicions solidify. Something happened when Alexis visited. Something that changed Valerian. But what? Possession? Mind control? Or something worse? He needs more information, but he's running out of time. According to the novel's timeline, he's only 3 months away from the first major confrontation with Alexis, the one where Valerian tries to assassinate the hero at a royal ball. Marcus knows he's supposed to fail, supposed to be exposed as a villain. This is the beginning of his downfall. But Marcus has no intention of following the script. He's not actually evil. He's just trapped in an evil person's body. He can change the story, save himself, maybe even expose whatever Alexis did. First, he needs to stop the assassination plot. He searches the castle and finds exactly what he feared. Plans, weapons, hired assassins. Everything is ready. The plot will proceed automatically unless he stops it. Marcus cancels everything, pays off the assassins to leave the kingdom, burns the plans, dismantles the conspiracy. The servants are confused but relieved. Maybe the Duke is getting better? Maybe whatever madness possessed him is fading. Marcus hopes so, but he knows he's just bought time. Alexis will come eventually. The hero always does. 2 weeks before the royal ball, Marcus receives an invitation. The king requests his presence, wants to introduce him to the hero who's been performing miracles across the kingdom. Marcus has no choice. He has to go. Has to meet Alexis face to face. He prepares carefully, studies everything he knows about the hero from the novel. Alexis is described as perfectly noble, selfless, kind, powerful, chosen by the gods to save the kingdom. Everyone who meets him is inspired. Women fall in love with him. Men want to follow him. He's the perfect protagonist. But Marcus remembers that journal entry. Valerian saw something wrong, something beneath the perfect surface. Marcus needs to see it too. The royal ball is exactly as described in the novel. Lavish. Hundreds of nobles. Music and dancing and political maneuvering. Marcus arrives and immediately feels hostile stares. Everyone hates Valerian. Rumors of his cruelty have spread. People keep their distance, whisper behind his back. Then Alexis enters and the atmosphere changes completely. The hero is stunning. Golden hair, blue eyes, perfect features. He moves with grace, speaks with charm. Within minutes, he has the entire ballroom captivated. He's exactly as the novel described. Perfect. Too perfect. Marcus watches carefully and sees what others miss. When Alexis thinks no one is looking, his smile vanishes. His eyes scan the room like a predator. He touches people and they react strangely, become more devoted, more adoring. It's subtle, but it's there. Marcus realizes with horror that Alexis is using some kind of charm magic. Low level, constant, making everyone love him automatically. The king introduces Marcus to Alexis. The hero's smile is warm, his handshake firm. He says he's heard so much about Duke Ashford, and he's honored to finally meet. His voice is like honey, but his eyes are calculating, cold, measuring Marcus like an opponent. Marcus feels the charm magic wash over him. It's trying to make him like Alexis. Trust him. But Marcus's mind isn't Valerian's. He's Marcus, a reader who knows this story. The magic slides off him like water. Alexis's smile twitches, just for a second. He noticed the magic didn't work. Marcus panics internally but keeps his face neutral. He compliments Alexis, says the kingdom is fortunate to have such a hero, plays along. Alexis relaxes slightly, but Marcus can tell the hero is suspicious. They talk for a few minutes, surface pleasantries, but Marcus is screaming internally because he finally sees it, what Valerian saw. Beneath the charm and the beauty and the perfect heroism, there's something wrong with Alexis Luminar. The hero is hollow. There's no real warmth, no genuine kindness. It's all performance. And the scariest part? He's incredibly good at it. That night, Marcus can't sleep. He keeps thinking about Alexis, about the cold eyes beneath the warm smile, about the charm magic that's probably been used on thousands of people, about the journal entry that suggested Valerian discovered something and then changed. Marcus has a horrifying theory. What if Alexis did something to Valerian? What if the hero somehow replaced the real Duke with a corrupted version? It sounds insane. But Marcus is living in a fantasy world, inside the body of a fictional villain. Insane is relative. He needs proof, needs to understand what Alexis is really doing. Over the next few weeks, Marcus investigates carefully. He travels to villages Alexis visited, talks to people the hero supposedly saved, and he finds a pattern. Alexis saves people from threats, defeats bandits, heals the sick, stops monsters. He's a genuine hero in that sense. But after he leaves, things change. The people become obsessed, start worshiping him, abandon their old lives to follow his cause, form cults dedicated to the hero. It's not gratitude, it's compulsion. The charm magic is stronger than Marcus thought. It doesn't just make people like Alexis, it rewrites their loyalties, makes them slaves to his will, and no one notices because it feels natural. You don't realize you've been manipulated when the manipulation feels like your own choice. Marcus discovers something else. Several nobles who opposed Alexis have died in the past year. Accidents, illness, suicide, nothing that could be directly blamed on the hero, but the pattern is suspicious. And when Marcus digs deeper, he finds that these nobles all had one thing in common. They questioned Alexis publicly, suggested he might not be as perfect as everyone thinks. They're all dead now. Marcus realizes he's in danger. He questioned Alexis. The magic didn't work on him. The hero knows Marcus is a threat. Sure enough, 3 days later, assassins attack Marcus's castle. They're not common thugs. They're elite killers, trained, equipped with magic weapons. They come at night. Dozens of them. Marcus barely survives. He's not a fighter. Valerian was skilled with a sword, but Marcus doesn't have that muscle memory. He's just a guy from Earth in a duke's body. He hides, lets his guards fight. Most of his guards die. The assassins are too skilled, but they retreat before finishing the job. Marcus doesn't understand why until morning. A message arrives from Alexis. The hero expresses sympathy for the attack, says he's investigating who sent the assassins, offers to station his own people at the castle for protection. It's a trap. Marcus knows it. Alexis sent the assassins. Now he's offering protection so he can plant spies in Marcus's home, maybe finish the job properly. Marcus declines politely, says he doesn't want to trouble the hero. He'll strengthen his own defenses. Alexis's return message is still friendly, but Marcus can read between the lines. The hero is angry. The mask is slipping. Marcus has to act fast. He's in a story where the villain is destined to die, but now he knows the hero is worse than any villain. He needs allies, people who can see through Alexis's charm. He reaches out to the nobles who were friendly with the original Valerian. Most avoid him. His reputation is too damaged, but one responds, Lady Catherine Blackwood, a countess known for her intelligence. She's immune to Alexis's charm not because of magic, but because she's naturally suspicious. She agrees to meet Marcus in secret. Marcus tells her everything, about the journal, about the charm magic, about the pattern of deaths. Catherine listens carefully. When he finishes, she's quiet for a long moment. Then she says she believes him. She's had doubts about Alexis for months. The hero is too perfect, too loved. It doesn't feel natural. She's been investigating on her own, found some of the same patterns, but she had no proof, no one to share her suspicions with. Together, they have a chance. Marcus asks if she knows what happened to Valerian. Catherine says there are rumors, whispers that the hero has power beyond simple magic, that he can transfer souls, replace people with perfect copies that serve him. Marcus feels sick. That would explain everything. Alexis replaced the real Valerian with a corrupted version, controlled the Duke like a puppet, used him to create a villain that justified the hero's rise to power. It's brilliant and horrifying. Catherine says they need to expose Alexis, but they need proof, undeniable evidence. Marcus agrees, but he knows it's nearly impossible. Alexis is too careful, too skilled. He's been building his perfect image for years. If you're loving this twisted story and want to see how Marcus survives when the hero is the real villain, hit that like button and make sure you're subscribed, because this story only gets more insane from here. Seriously, the revelations about what Alexis really is will blow your mind. Let's continue. Marcus and Catherine spend months gathering evidence. They track Alexis's movements, interview people he's helped, investigate the deaths of nobles who opposed him. Slowly, a picture emerges. Alexis Luminar isn't just using charm magic. He's rewriting reality. Every person he saves becomes his. Every village he protects pledges allegiance. Every threat he defeats makes him more powerful. He's not saving the kingdom. He's conquering it. One grateful person at a time. But the evidence is circumstantial. Nothing that would convince people under his charm. They need something concrete. Something undeniable. Marcus gets his chance during a royal tournament. Alexis is participating, showing off his skills. He defeats opponent after opponent with ease. The crowd loves it, but Marcus is watching something else. He notices that every opponent who faces Alexis becomes devoted to him after the match, even the ones he defeats brutally. It's not sportsmanship, it's magic. Marcus uses a magical device Catherine provided, a recording crystal that captures the truth of what it sees. Not what people perceive, but what actually happens. He points it at Alexis during a match. The crystal shows what the crowd can't see. Threads of dark magic flowing from Alexis into his opponent. The charm magic being forced into the man's mind, rewriting his loyalty in real time. It's horrifying to watch, like seeing someone's soul being stolen. Marcus has his proof, but before he can celebrate, he makes a mistake. He gets too excited, moves wrong, draws attention. Alexis sees him with the recording crystal. Their eyes meet across the tournament grounds. The hero's smile doesn't waver, but his eyes promise death. That night, Marcus's castle is attacked again. Not by assassins this time, but by people Marcus knows. Nobles who were supposedly his allies. Servants who worked for him for years. They're all under Alexis's control, all trying to kill him. Marcus realizes the hero has been converting his people. Slowly, one by one, turning his own household against him. He barely escapes with Catherine's help. They flee the castle with the recording crystal, become fugitives. The hero officially declares that Duke Valerian Ashford has revealed his true evil nature, that he attacked the tournament and tried to kill innocent nobles. A manhunt begins. Marcus is now the villain the story always said he was. Except he didn't do anything wrong. He's being framed by the hero. Catherine and Marcus hide in the wilderness. She has contacts in remote villages, places Alexis hasn't visited yet, places where people aren't under his charm. They show the recording crystal to these people. Some believe them, most don't. It's too hard to accept that the beloved hero is actually evil. Too much cognitive dissonance. But a few see the truth. A few join their cause. They form a small resistance. A group of people immune to or freed from Alexis's charm. They start gathering more evidence, more recordings, more testimonies from people who remember what they were like before meeting the hero. The resistance grows slowly. 20 people, then 50, then 100. All of them hunted. All of them branded as villains by the hero's propaganda. Marcus learns more about Alexis through their investigation. The hero isn't human. He's something else. Something that feeds on devotion, on worship. He's a parasite that wears a human face and consumes loyalty like food. The more people love him, the stronger he gets. And he's been doing this for decades, moving from kingdom to kingdom, always the hero, always saving people, always leaving behind a trail of devoted followers and dead skeptics. Valerian was right to be suspicious, and it got him killed, or worse than killed, replaced. Marcus is determined not to let Alexis win, but he's just one man with a small resistance against a hero who controls thousands. Catherine asks Marcus what the novel said. How does this story end? Marcus tells her the truth. In the novel, Valerian dies. Alexis wins, becomes king, rules perfectly. Everyone lives happily ever after. Catherine asks if Marcus thinks that's really a happy ending. Marcus says no, not anymore, not knowing what he knows. That happy ending is everyone under Alexis's control forever. A kingdom of puppets worshipping a monster. They have to change the story, have to create a different ending, even if it kills them. The resistance plans an assault on the royal palace. It's insane, suicidal, but it's their only chance. They need to expose Alexis in front of the king. Show the recording crystal to someone whose mind isn't already corrupted. The king is old, powerful. If anyone can resist Alexis's charm, it's him. They infiltrate during a royal banquet. Marcus's group disguises themselves as servants. Catherine uses her connections to get them past security. They make it to the great hall where Alexis is giving a speech. The hero is announcing his engagement to the princess. The crowd is ecstatic. This is the moment the novel described. The hero marrying into royalty, becoming the future king. Marcus bursts in. Hundreds of eyes turn to him. Guards draw weapons. Alexis's perfect smile never falters. Marcus holds up the recording crystal, projects its contents for everyone to see. The dark magic flowing from Alexis, the charm being forced into minds, the manipulation, the control. For a moment, the hall is silent. People are processing what they're seeing. Some look confused. Some look horrified. Marcus sees doubt in their eyes. He's getting through. Then Alexis laughs. It's not his usual warm laugh, it's cold, mocking. The hero says that of course there's magic in his blessings. He's chosen by the gods. His power is divine. It's meant to guide people toward righteousness, toward good. What Marcus is showing isn't proof of evil, it's proof of his divine mandate. The crowd murmurs. That makes sense, doesn't it? Heroes use magic. That's what makes them heroes. Marcus screams that it's mind control, that Alexis is stealing their free will, but the people under Alexis's charm can't process that. They see what they want to see, what Alexis wants them to see. Divine guidance, not slavery. Only a few people react with horror, those not fully under the charm. The king is one of them. He stands up, demands an explanation. Alexis's smile finally cracks. The hero realizes he miscalculated. The king is strong enough to see the truth. Marcus sees his chance. He runs toward the king, tries to reach him, to convince him. But Alexis is faster. The hero's hand shoots out. Dark energy erupts from his palm. It slams into Marcus, throws him across the hall. Pain explodes through his body. He crashes into a wall, crumples to the ground, blood in his mouth, vision blurring. He hears Catherine screaming, hears fighting. His resistance is being slaughtered by charmed guards. He failed. Alexis walks toward him slowly. The hero's beautiful face is twisted with rage. All pretense of nobility gone. He says Marcus should have died quietly like Valerian did, should have accepted his role as the villain. Now everything is complicated. Alexis raises his hand to deliver the killing blow, but the king intervenes. The old monarch moves with speed that surprises everyone. He places himself between Alexis and Marcus, demands the hero stand down, demands answers. Alexis's mask returns instantly. He bows to the king, apologizes, says Marcus drove him to anger, that he lost control. It won't happen again. The king doesn't buy it. He saw the truth, saw the real Alexis. He orders the hero arrested, orders investigation. Alexis looks at the king with those cold eyes, then smiles sadly, says he didn't want to do this. The hero's power erupts. Not just charm magic, but something worse. The king collapses, just drops like his strings were cut. He's not dead, but he's not conscious either. Catatonic, alive but empty. Alexis just destroyed the king's mind. The hall erupts in chaos. Some people scream. Most are too charmed to react properly. They convince themselves the king had a stroke, that Alexis tried to save him, that the villain Marcus caused this. Alexis declares martial law, says the kingdom needs strong leadership during this crisis. The princess, his fiancée, agrees immediately. She's completely under his charm. She declares Alexis as regent. He's now effectively king. Marcus watches from the floor, broken, bleeding. He changed the story, but not in the way he wanted. he made things worse. Alexis has complete control now. The resistance is dead or scattered. The king is a vegetable. The hero won. Catherine drags Marcus away during the chaos. They escape through servant corridors. Flee the palace. Marcus is dying. He knows it. Valerian's body is tough, but not indestructible. The blow Alexis delivered was meant to kill. It's only a matter of time. Catherine says she knows a healer. Someone outside Alexis's influence. She can save Marcus. They travel for days. Marcus gets weaker. Fever sets in. He drifts in and out of consciousness, has hallucinations, sees the original Valerian, the real Duke before Alexis replaced him. Valerian apologizes, says he should have been stronger, should have stopped the hero when he first suspected. Marcus says it's not his fault. No one could have known. They finally reach the healer, an old woman living in a forest untouched by civilization. She's not charmed because Alexis has never found her. She examines Marcus, says his body is dying. The hero's magic is corrupting it from the inside, killing him slowly. She can't save Valerian's body, but she can save Marcus. She has a ritual, ancient, forbidden. It can transfer his soul to a new vessel. Marcus doesn't want that, doesn't want to steal another body. The healer says the vessel isn't a person. It's a homunculus, an artificial body, blank, no soul. It's been waiting for decades. She made it for emergencies. This qualifies. Marcus agrees. He has no choice. The ritual is agonizing. His soul is ripped from Valerian's dying body and stuffed into the homunculus. He screams, feels like he's being torn apart and reassembled. When it's done, he's in a new body. Younger, stronger, generic features, nothing memorable. He's no longer Duke Valerian Ashford. He's just Marcus, a nobody. Catherine says this is good. Alexis won't recognize him. They can start over, build a new resistance. But Marcus knows it's not that simple. Alexis controls the kingdom now, has unlimited resources, and Marcus has nothing, no title, no power, no proof that anyone will believe. He's lost everything, but he's alive, and he knows the truth. That has to count for something. Real quick, before we get to how Marcus fights back against a hero who's basically a god at this point, drop a like if you're as hooked as I am, subscribe so you don't miss the insane conclusion, and comment which villain from fiction you think was actually right all along. Now let's see how this impossible situation resolves. Marcus spends 2 years in hiding, building a new resistance, learning to fight properly, training his new body, gathering allies who can see through Alexis's charm. It's slow, difficult. Alexis's power grows daily. The hero is now officially king, married to the princess, beloved by all. The kingdom prospers under his rule. Peace, prosperity, justice. From the outside, it's perfect. But Marcus knows the truth. Everyone is a slave. Happy slaves, but slaves nonetheless. The resistance grows to 300 people, still tiny compared to Alexis's millions. But they're dedicated, free. They remember what it's like to think for themselves. Catherine remains Marcus's closest ally. She's changed too. Harder, more ruthless. The fight against Alexis has cost her everything. Her lands, her title, her family. She wants revenge as much as Marcus wants justice. They discover something crucial. Alexis's power has a weakness. The charm magic requires constant reinforcement. If someone stays away from the hero for long enough, the control fades. Not completely, but enough to start questioning. Enough to remember who they were before. This gives them a strategy. They start extracting people from Alexis's influence, kidnapping them, holding them in remote locations until the charm fades, then showing them the truth. It works on some people. Others are too far gone, too dependent on the hero's control. They beg to return, have to be released. But slowly, the resistance grows. 500 people, 1,000. These aren't fighters. Most are just regular people who want their minds back. But they spread the word, tell others, plant seeds of doubt. The charm makes doubt hard but not impossible. Marcus also learns more about what Alexis really is. The hero is a soul eater, a creature that sustains itself by consuming devotion. Every person who worships him feeds him power, makes him stronger. He's immortal as long as people love him, and he's been doing this for centuries, moving from kingdom to kingdom. Always the hero, always the savior, always leaving behind empty shells of civilizations that worship his memory forever. Valerian's fate was worse than Marcus thought. Alexis didn't just kill the Duke, he consumed him, took his soul, used it to create the corrupted puppet that did evil in Valerian's name. The real Valerian is gone, erased. Marcus realizes he needs to do more than just resist. He needs to stop Alexis permanently. And there's only one way. Cut off his power source. Make people stop loving him. It seems impossible. The entire kingdom worships Alexis. But Marcus has an idea. It's insane. Suicidal. But it might work. He's going to use the hero's own tactics against him. Marcus starts a rumor, whispers it through the resistance network, lets it spread slowly. The rumor says that Alexis has a secret, a dark truth he's hiding, that his power comes from something forbidden. The charm magic suppresses most rumors automatically, but Marcus designed this one carefully. It's not an accusation, it's a mystery. And mysteries are tantalizing even to charmed minds. People start wondering, what secret? What is the hero hiding? The whispers grow. Marcus feeds them carefully, adds details, claims that nobles who discovered the secret died mysteriously, that the king was silenced for knowing too much. It's all true, but he presents it as conspiracy, as forbidden knowledge. Alexis notices, starts clamping down, arrests people for spreading rumors, executes some. But this backfires. The crackdown proves there's something to hide. More people become curious. The charm magic wars with human curiosity. Marcus waits until the rumors reach critical mass. Then he makes his move. He infiltrates the palace during a royal celebration, uses his new anonymous body to blend with servants, plants evidence he's carefully forged, documents that suggest Alexis murdered the previous king, magical artifacts that prove the hero uses mind control, testimonies from people freed from his charm. He leaves it all in places where it will be found by palace staff who are starting to question, starting to doubt. The evidence spreads, copies made, distributed. Alexis tries to suppress it, but it's too widespread. Too many people have seen it. The charm magic struggles to explain it away, to make people ignore what they're seeing. Some people break free. Not many, but enough. They see what Marcus has always seen. The cold eyes behind the warm smile, the calculation behind the heroism, the prison behind the paradise. A resistance forms inside the palace itself. Nobles and guards who remember who they were before Alexis arrived. They contact Marcus, offer to help. Together they plan the final confrontation. Marcus returns to the palace openly, no longer hiding. He walks into the throne room during a royal court session. Hundreds of nobles present. Alexis sitting on the throne, looking perfect, regal, righteous. Marcus announces loudly that he's Duke Valerian Ashford, or at least the man who possessed that body, and he's here to expose the false king. Alexis doesn't react outwardly, just smiles that perfect smile, says this is obviously an imposter trying to sow discord. The charm magic pulses, tries to make everyone believe him, but Marcus is ready. He brought the freed nobles, the palace staff who broke free. They all step forward, testify that Marcus is telling the truth, that they've seen the evidence, that Alexis is using mind control. The throne room erupts in argument. Some believe, some deny. The charm magic fractures, loses coherence, too many conflicting messages, too much doubt. Alexis stands. The hero's mask finally shatters completely. His beautiful face twists into something inhuman, something hungry. He says he's done playing, done pretending. These mortals should be grateful he chose to rule them, should be honored to feed him their devotion. He unleashes his true power. Dark energy explodes from his body. Everyone in the throne room collapses. Minds assaulted by pure domination, except Marcus and the freed nobles. They resisted long enough to build immunity. They're the only ones still standing. Alexis looks at them with contempt, says they're annoying insects, nothing more. He'll crush them and rebuild his paradise. No more Mr. Nice Guy. Pure control, pure domination, eternal worship. Marcus draws a sword, not a magical weapon, just steel. He knows he can't win a fight. Alexis is too powerful. But he doesn't need to win, he just needs to survive long enough, because he has one more card to play. Catherine and the resistance are outside the palace. They've been preparing for this moment. They have recording crystals aimed at the throne room, capturing everything. Alexis's true form, his admission, his attack. The crystal feed is being broadcast across the capital, projected onto buildings, shown in town squares. Thousands of people are watching, seeing the truth. The hero is a monster, and for many that's enough. The charm magic is powerful, but it's not absolute. Seeing undeniable proof breaks its hold. People start to wake up. start to remember. The worship that feeds Alexis begins to waver. The hero feels it, staggers. His power dims slightly. He roars in fury, realizes what Marcus did. The recording crystals, the broadcast, the trap. Alexis lunges at Marcus, moving with inhuman speed, but the freed nobles intercept, sacrifice themselves to buy time. They're torn apart by dark magic, die protecting Marcus. Their sacrifice means something. Every second of broadcast, every person who sees the truth, every mind that breaks free, it all weakens Alexis. The hero's power is draining. He's losing his food source, losing his immortality. Marcus presses the attack, not with sword, but with words. He shouts everything he's learned, every truth about Alexis, every person the hero killed, every soul he consumed, every kingdom he destroyed. The broadcast carries his words across the capital. More people wake up, more doubts form, more worship ends. Alexis is weakening, actually weakening. For the first time in centuries, the Soul Eater is starving, but he's not done, not helpless. He has centuries of accumulated power. He can slaughter everyone here, destroy the broadcast, rebuild his kingdom through fear instead of love. He raises his hand to annihilate Marcus, to end this annoying rebellion. Then something unexpected happens. The king appears, not the catatonic shell, but the actual king. His mind restored. He's been faking his condition for months, waiting for the right moment. He drives a blessed sword through Alexis's back. The hero screams. The blade is anathema to his existence, blessed by ancient gods who hate his kind. The king says he's been aware of Alexis's nature for years, has been preparing, waiting for someone brave enough to expose the truth. Marcus gave him that opening. Together they can end this. Alexis tears the sword out of his back, turns on the king with murderous rage, but the king doesn't back down. Royal magic flows from him, ancient power passed down through bloodlines. It clashes with Alexis's dark energy. The two forces war, throne room shaking, reality cracking. Marcus knows this is the moment. He grabs the blessed sword the king dropped, charges at Alexis while the hero is distracted, drives the blade through the hero's chest, through his heart. Alexis looks at Marcus with genuine surprise. The Soul Eater didn't expect to die, didn't think it was possible. He laughs, says even if this body dies, he'll return. He always does. There are always kingdoms to save, always people to worship him. Marcus says not this time, because the truth is recorded, will be spread. Every kingdom will know what he really is. He'll never be able to play hero again. Alexis's eyes widen, realizes Marcus is right. The recordings, the witnesses, the proof. It's all documented, spreading. By morning, every kingdom on the continent will know. The Soul Eater will be hunted, exposed, unable to feed. Alexis dies screaming. His body dissolves into dark smoke. The souls he consumed are freed. Hundreds of them. Thousands. They swirl through the throne room like ghosts. One approaches Marcus. It's Valerian, the real Duke, finally free. He thanks Marcus for exposing the truth, for avenging him, for saving the kingdom from eternal slavery. Then he fades. At peace, Marcus collapses, exhausted, wounded, but alive. The king helps him up, thanks him, says the kingdom owes him everything. Marcus says he just wanted to survive, to not be the villain everyone thought he was. The king says he's a hero, the real hero, the one who saved them from a false one. Marcus doesn't feel like a hero. He's just a guy who got reincarnated into a bad situation and did his best. But he accepts the thanks. The kingdom has to rebuild. Millions of people are free from mind control for the first time in years. Many are confused, lost, they need guidance. Marcus helps where he can. Catherine becomes the new spy master, uses her network to root out remaining pockets of Alexis's influence. The king establishes new laws. Magic that controls minds is banned, forbidden. Records of Alexis's true nature are preserved, taught to every child, so no future generation forgets that heroes can be monsters, and monsters can be heroes. Years pass. Marcus lives a quiet life, no title, no fame, just a peaceful existence in a kingdom he helped save. People sometimes recognize him, thank him. He always deflects, says he was just in the right place at the right time, but he knows the truth. He changed the story, broke the narrative, exposed the hero as the real villain, and saved millions from eternal slavery. The story of how he reincarnated into the villain's body, but discovered the hero was the real monster becomes legend. A cautionary tale, a reminder to question authority, to look beneath perfect surfaces, to remember that good and evil aren't always what they seem. Marcus never forgets the original Valerian, the duke who died because he questioned the wrong person, who tried to protect his kingdom and was destroyed for it. Marcus made sure Valerian's name was cleared. That history remembers him as a victim, not a villain, because that's what he was. A good man corrupted by a monster wearing a hero's face. And Marcus? He's just happy to be alive, to have survived in a world that wanted him dead, to have exposed a truth everyone was blind to. He proved that even the villain of the story can become its hero. If they're willing to fight for truth, even against impossible odds, even when the world itself says they're wrong, that's the real story. Not about a villain or a hero, but about a man who refused to accept the role others chose for him, who fought against destiny, who changed a story everyone thought was finished, who saved a kingdom from paradise because that paradise was really hell. The reincarnated villain who exposed the hero as the true monster didn't just survive, he won. He rewrote everything, and in doing so, he proved that stories can change, that roles can be reversed, that questioning the narrative is the bravest thing anyone can do, because sometimes the villain is actually right, and the hero everyone loves is the real evil all along. Marcus proved it, lived it, and saved millions because he refused to die quietly like the story demanded. That's his legacy, not as Duke Valerian Ashford, but as Marcus Chen, the reader who knew the story too well, and changed it anyway. But the story doesn't end with Alexis's death. 3 months after the false hero falls, Marcus discovers something horrifying. Alexis wasn't alone. The Soul Eater was part of a network. There are others like him, spread across multiple kingdoms, each one playing hero, each one enslaving populations through worship. The recordings that exposed Alexis spread to neighboring kingdoms as Marcus hoped, but instead of warnings, they're seen as attacks. The other false heroes spin the narrative, say Marcus is a villain who murdered a genuine hero through treachery, that the recordings are fabricated. Dark magic used to slander the righteous. Their charmed populations believe them. Why wouldn't they? Their heroes are perfect, kind, powerful. It's easier to believe one villain lied than to accept that heroes can be monsters. Marcus receives messages from the other kingdoms, threats, promises of retribution. The false heroes are coming for him, not immediately but inevitably. They can't let him live. He exposed their nature, proved they can be killed. He's an existential threat to their entire species. Catherine brings intelligence. There are at least 7 other Soul Eaters currently active. Each one has been playing hero for decades. Each one controls millions. Together, they're planning an invasion. They'll unite their charmed armies, march on Marcus's kingdom, destroy everyone who knows the truth, then rewrite history so Alexis is remembered as a martyred saint. Marcus feels the weight of it. He didn't just kill one monster. He started a war with 7. The king offers him a position as royal defender, says the kingdom needs him, needs his knowledge of how Soul Eaters operate, his immunity to their charm, his willingness to fight when everyone else worships. Marcus accepts, not because he wants power, but because millions of lives depend on stopping these creatures. He begins training soldiers, teaching them to resist mind control. It's not easy. Most people are susceptible, but some have natural resistance, strong wills, skeptical minds, deep-seated stubbornness. These people become the core of a new military unit, the Unchained. Soldiers who can fight without being enslaved. They're humanity's only hope against an army of worshippers led by immortal monsters. Meanwhile, Marcus works with scholars to understand Soul Eaters better, how they're created, what their weaknesses are, how to kill them permanently. The research reveals disturbing truths. Soul Eaters are born when someone achieves genuine heroism but becomes addicted to the worship. The devotion literally changes them, transforms them into creatures that need adoration to survive. They start noble, but the addiction corrupts, turns them into parasites that engineer crises just so they can solve them and harvest more worship. Alexis was one of the oldest, had been playing hero for 5 centuries. The others are younger but no less dangerous, and they're learning from Alexis's mistakes. They won't underestimate Marcus, won't let him get close. They'll crush him from a distance with armies of devoted slaves. The invasion begins 6 months after Alexis's death. 3 of the false heroes unite their kingdoms, march with a combined force of 200,000 soldiers, all charmed, all worshipping their heroes as gods. Marcus's kingdom has maybe 30,000 troops. Most are partially susceptible to charm magic. Only 5,000 are unchained, fully resistant. The odds are catastrophic, but Marcus has advantages. He knows the Soul Eater's tactics, knows they'll try to charm his soldiers first, convert them before fighting, turn his army against him. He prepares countermeasures, magical wards that block mind control, blessed weapons that can harm Soul Eaters, recording crystals everywhere, documenting everything, because even if they lose, even if everyone dies, the truth needs to survive. The first battle is brutal. The enemy army approaches, 3 heroes at its head. They're beautiful, radiant. Their charm magic floods the battlefield. Marcus's soldiers struggle, even with wards, even with training. The magic is so strong, so seductive. Thousands defect. Walk across the battlefield to join the enemy, kneel before the heroes, pledge eternal service. Marcus watches his army shrink, watches people he trained turn against him. It's heartbreaking. But the Unchained hold, 5,000 soldiers immune to the charm. They form the core defense, fight with desperate courage. The Soul Eaters are surprised. They didn't expect resistance, didn't know humans could be immune. They focus their power, try to break the Unchained through sheer magical force. But Marcus taught his soldiers well. They endure. The battle rages for 3 days. The Unchained fight impossible odds, die in thousands, but they don't break, don't surrender. Their resistance inspires others. Some charmed soldiers start to question, start to remember why they fight. The Soul Eaters realize they won't win easily. They pull back, regroup, but they've learned something dangerous. Humans can resist, which means they need to be crushed completely. No mercy, no conversion, just extermination. The second invasion is worse. All 7 Soul Eaters unite, bring 1,000,000 soldiers, charmed from birth, raised to worship. These aren't converts. They're true believers, fanatics. Marcus's kingdom stands alone. Neighboring kingdoms won't help. They're afraid, or charmed, or don't believe the threat is real. It's 30,000 defenders against 1,000,000 attackers. Math says Marcus loses. Math says everyone dies. But Marcus learned something from fighting Alexis. Soul Eaters are powerful but not invincible. They have a weakness. They need worship. If you can make people stop loving them even for a moment, they weaken. Marcus has a plan. It's insane. But everything he's done has been insane. He broadcasts a message to the enemy army, not through magic but through mundane means. Leaflets dropped from balloons, messages shot over walls on arrows, words painted on rocks and hurled into their camps. The message is simple. Look at your heroes. Really look at them. Are they fighting alongside you? Or are they behind you? Safe, protected, letting you die for them. True heroes lead from the front. What are yours doing? It's a seed of doubt. Tiny, easily dismissed, but seeds grow. Some soldiers start watching their heroes, noticing that yes, they do stay safe, do let others fight, do survive while followers die. The charm magic tells them this is wise. Leaders must be protected. But doubt is persistent. It whispers, questions. Some soldiers start to break free. Not many. Maybe 1 in 1,000. But in an army of 1,000,000, that's 1,000 doubts. 1,000 questions. The Soul Eaters feel it. Their power flickering. They crack down, execute doubters publicly. But this backfires, proves Marcus's point. Heroes don't murder their own followers. Monsters do. More doubt spreads. The invasion slows as the Soul Eaters fight a rebellion within their own ranks. Marcus uses the time to fortify, to train more Unchained, to prepare for the final battle he knows is coming. The Soul Eaters will attack with everything, will try to crush the last free kingdom. If they fail, their entire system collapses. If they succeed, truth dies with it. 6 months into the siege, the Soul Eaters are getting desperate. They can feel their power fading. Too many followers questioning. Too much doubt. They need a decisive victory, need to prove they're still invincible. They launch a final assault. Every charmed soldier, every magical weapon, every ounce of power they've accumulated. They're betting everything. The battle is apocalyptic. The sky turns black with hostile magic. The ground shakes. Reality cracks. Marcus and the Unchained hold the walls, die by thousands but don't break. Catherine coordinates from the war room, sends reinforcements where needed. Records everything. The king fights on the front lines, proving that true leadership means sacrifice. The Soul Eaters finally enter the battle personally, all 7 together. Their combined power is overwhelming. They tear through defenses like paper. Nothing stops them. Nothing can. They reach the throne room where Marcus waits. He's not running, not hiding. He's been waiting for this, for them to get close enough, because he has one last trick, one last desperate gambit. Marcus has been gathering souls, not consuming them like the Soul Eaters do, but collecting them. Every person who died resisting, every unchained soldier, every freed slave. They all volunteered their souls for this moment, thousands of them, stored in Marcus's new body, the homunculus the healer made. It wasn't just a vessel, it was a weapon, a bomb made of human determination. Marcus detonates it, releases all the stored souls at once. The explosion is spiritual, not physical. It doesn't destroy buildings. It destroys lies, shatters illusions, burns away charm magic like fog and sunlight. Every person in the capital feels it, feels truth crash into them like a wave. They see clearly for the first time in years, see what they've been, what they've done, what they've worshipped. The horror is overwhelming. The 7 Soul Eaters scream. Their food source evaporates. Millions of people stop worshipping simultaneously. The false heroes begin to starve, to weaken, to die. But they're not gone yet. They have reserves, centuries of accumulated power. They turn on Marcus with killing intent. He's dying. The soul bomb is consuming him from inside, but he's not done. He grabs blessed weapons, throws them to the freed soldiers flooding into the throne room, people who remember why they fight, who want revenge. The 7 Soul Eaters fight for their lives, but they're surrounded, outnumbered, weakening by the second. One by one, they fall, killed by the very people they enslaved, the people they used as cattle, the people who finally saw them for what they really were. The last Soul Eater, the oldest and strongest, makes it to Marcus, drives a blade through his heart, says if he dies, he's taking Marcus with him. Marcus smiles, says that's fine. He already changed the story, already exposed the truth. His death means nothing compared to that. The Soul Eater collapses, dead, and Marcus collapses beside him, dying. Catherine reaches him first, begs him to hold on. They'll find a healer, save him. Marcus says no. This body was borrowed time, and he's okay with it ending. He accomplished what he needed, killed the monsters, freed the slaves, proved that heroes can be evil and villains can be good. He tells Catherine to record everything, to make sure this truth never dies, to teach future generations that worship is dangerous, that questions are necessary, that perfect heroes should be doubted most of all. Then Marcus dies. For the second time, for the last time. His soul doesn't return, doesn't reincarnate, just fades. At peace, the kingdom mourns, the man who saved them twice, once as a villain, once as himself. Statues are built, stories told. Marcus Chen becomes legend, the man who exposed false heroes, who changed an unwinnable story, who proved that predetermined roles can be broken. 10 years later, the world is different. The Soul Eaters are extinct, hunted down, killed. Their charmed populations freed. New systems established. Democracy instead of monarchy in some places. Elected leaders instead of heroes. Skepticism instead of blind faith. Catherine leads the effort. She makes sure Marcus's recordings are preserved, taught in schools. Every child learns about the false heroes, about the man who exposed them, about the importance of thinking for yourself. Some people say Marcus was the real hero. Catherine always corrects them, says Marcus would hate that. He wasn't a hero. He was just a person who refused to accept the role he was given. That's more important than heroism. That's what everyone should strive for. 20 years later, a child is born. She grows up hearing stories about Marcus Chen, about the villain who wasn't, about the heroes who were monsters. She decides she wants to help people, but not as a hero, as a doctor, as a teacher, as someone who empowers others instead of saving them. Her generation is different. They don't worship. They question. They think. They remember what Marcus proved, that the worst tyranny wears the face of salvation, that the most dangerous monsters are the ones everyone loves, that truth matters more than comfort. 50 years later, historians write books about the age of false heroes, about how close humanity came to eternal slavery, about how one reincarnated villain saved them by refusing his role. The books are bestsellers, not because people worship Marcus, but because they understand what he taught. Question everything. Trust no one absolutely. Power must be checked. Devotion is dangerous, and sometimes the villain of the story is actually right. 100 years later, Marcus's name is still remembered, not as a hero, not as a villain, but as a revolutionary. Someone who changed how people think about good and evil, about predetermined roles, about the stories we tell. His greatest achievement wasn't killing soul eaters. It was teaching people to question narratives, to look beneath surfaces, to remember that real heroes don't need worship, don't demand devotion, don't punish doubt. Real heroes empower, enable, and then step back. Let people save themselves. That's what Marcus did. Gave people the truth, let them free themselves. And in doing so, he proved he was never the villain. The story lied. The hero was the monster. The villain was the only one brave enough to say it. And that truth echoed through 100 years, through 1,000 years, forever changing how humanity understood heroism, how they approached power, how they judged those who claimed to save them. The reincarnated villain who discovered the hero was the monster didn't just survive, didn't just win. He changed the world, broke the cycle, ended a species of parasites that had been enslaving humans for millennia, and he did it by refusing the role of villain, by questioning the hero, by fighting against a story everyone believed was true. That's real power. Not strength, not magic, but the courage to stand alone, to say the emperor has no clothes, to expose truth when everyone else worships lies. Marcus Chen proved it possible, lived it, died for it, and left behind a world that remembers, that questions, that refuses to worship. A world where false heroes can never rise again, because people learned, because one villain taught them, because the story was rewritten. And in that rewritten story, the villain became legend, not for being strong, but for being right, for seeing what others couldn't, for fighting when it seemed impossible, for changing everything. That's his legacy, not heroism, but truth, not worship, but questions, not devotion, but freedom. The world Marcus saved doesn't worship him, it honors him, and that distinction means everything, because Marcus taught them the difference between a hero who demands love and a person who earns respect, between worship that enslaves and gratitude that liberates. He was never a hero. He was never truly a villain. He was just a person who refused to play the role destiny demanded, who questioned the narrative, who fought for truth even when truth meant death. And in doing so, he proved that roles don't define us. Actions do, that stories can change, that villains can be right, that heroes can be wrong, that everything depends on perspective, on willingness to question, on courage to stand alone. Marcus stood alone, fought impossible odds, changed an unchangeable story, and saved a world that wanted him dead, not as a hero, but as himself. That's the real story. That's the truth. That's what they remember. Forever. 2 centuries after Marcus's death, the world faces a new challenge. A young woman named Elena discovers she can see through illusions. All illusions, including the ones people tell themselves. She sees when politicians lie, when leaders manipulate, when movements that claim righteousness hide corruption. Her ability makes her isolated. People hate having their comfortable lies exposed. They call her cynical, bitter, negative. But Elena remembers the stories about Marcus Chen, about how he alone saw the truth when everyone else was blind. She realizes she's like him, cursed with clarity in a world that prefers delusion. She starts her own movement, not to lead, but to teach. She travels from city to city teaching people Marcus's lessons, how to spot manipulation, how to recognize charm, how to think critically, how to question authority without becoming paranoid. It's not popular. Most people don't want to think that hard, don't want to question their beliefs. But some do. Some remember what blind faith costs. They join Elena, learn from her, spread the message. Within a decade, there's a network. Thousands of people trained to see through manipulation, to question narratives, to think independently. They call themselves the Unchained in honor of Marcus's original resistance. They don't fight with weapons. They fight with truth, with questions, with refusal to accept comfortable lies. And when a new charismatic leader rises promising to unite the continent under wise rule, the Unchained are ready. They investigate, find inconsistencies, expose manipulations. The leader tries to use the same tactics as the old soul eaters: charm, devotion, worship. But the Unchained have spent years teaching people to resist. The continent isn't defenseless anymore, isn't blindly trusting. The wannabe tyrant is stopped before he gains power, exposed before he enslaves millions, all because Elena remembered Marcus, applied his lessons, carried forward his legacy. She becomes known as Marcus's heir, not because she has his power, but because she has his purpose, to expose lies, to question authority, to teach people to think. When Elena dies at 80, she passes the responsibility to her students. They pass it to theirs. Generation after generation, the Unchained become an institution, not a government, not a religion, just a group dedicated to remembering what Marcus taught, to never letting humanity forget, to always questioning those who claim to save us. 5 centuries after Marcus, the world is so changed he wouldn't recognize it. Technology advanced, magic integrated, new systems, new problems. But the core lesson remains. People still try to manipulate, still seek worship, still want to be heroes who demand devotion, and there are always Unchained to stop them, to ask uncomfortable questions, to expose truth, to remember what blind faith costs. Marcus Chen is a name known by every educated person, required learning in schools. His story is studied, analyzed, used as example. His life is legend, his death is martyrdom, but more than anything, his lesson is remembered. The villain was right. The hero was wrong. Roles don't determine morality. Actions do. And questioning narratives is humanity's best defense against tyranny. 1,000 years after Marcus, humanity expands to the stars. New worlds, new civilizations, new challenges, but they carry Marcus's lessons with them. Every colony has Unchained. Every world teaches his story. In the far reaches of space, on planets where old Earth is just myth, people still know the story. The reincarnated villain who exposed the false hero, who changed an unchangeable story, who taught humanity to think. Alien species they encounter don't understand at first. The human obsession with questioning, with doubt, with refusal to worship. But they learn, see the benefits, adopt similar practices. Marcus's legacy spreads beyond humanity, becomes galactic, universal. Proof that truth matters more than comfort, that questions are necessary, that blind faith is always dangerous. 2,000 years after Marcus, scholars debate if he really existed. Maybe he's myth, legend, story told to teach lessons. Maybe the details are exaggerated, changed, mythologized. But the historians have recordings, documents, proof. Marcus was real. The Soul Eaters were real. The false heroes who enslaved millions were real. And one reincarnated office worker in a villain's body really did expose them, really did change everything, really did prove that stories can be rewritten. The evidence is undeniable. Marcus Chen existed, changed the world, and his lesson echoes through 2,000 years, will echo forever. Because humanity learned something crucial, something that can never be unlearned, that heroes who demand worship are not heroes, that saviors who punish questions are tyrants, that perfect surfaces hide imperfect truths, and that sometimes, often, the villain of the story is the only one brave enough to tell the truth. Marcus proved it, lived it, died for it. And the universe is better because one man refused to be the villain his story demanded. That's real heroism, not saving people, but teaching them to save themselves, not demanding worship, but earning respect, not fighting monsters, but exposing the monsters everyone else worships. Marcus was never a hero, was never truly a villain. He was just a person who reincarnated into an impossible situation, who discovered a horrifying truth, who fought against destiny, who changed a story that was supposed to end with his death, and in changing that story, he changed all stories, proved that narratives are not fixed, that roles can be rejected, that villains can be heroes, and heroes can be monsters. And that truth, no matter how uncomfortable, is always worth fighting for. The reincarnated villain who discovered the hero was the monster, who exposed lies, who freed slaves, who taught humanity to think, who died unnamed but remembered, who was never worshipped but forever honored. His story ends not with glory, but with legacy, not with power, but with purpose, not with devotion, but with freedom. He saved millions by teaching them to question, changed the world by refusing his role, became legend by staying human. That's Marcus Chen, the office worker who died reading a novel, who woke in a villain's body, who discovered the hero was evil, who fought impossible odds, who changed everything, and who proved that one person alone questioning the narrative can reshape reality. That's the power of truth. That's the weight of courage. That's the legacy of the villain who was right, forever. And so the cycle continues. 3,000 years after Marcus Chen changed the world, his name is still spoken, his story still taught, his lessons still relevant, because the temptation to worship hasn't disappeared, the desire for saviors, for heroes, for someone to fix everything while we do nothing. That urge is human, eternal, but so is the unchained. So is the resistance Marcus started. Every generation faces new would-be heroes, new charismatic leaders, new promises of salvation. And every generation has people who remember Marcus, who ask the uncomfortable questions, who refuse to worship, who insist on thinking for themselves, the eternal struggle between comfort and truth, between faith and skepticism, between worship and freedom. Marcus didn't end that struggle. He just made sure one side had the tools to fight, made sure blind faith would always face informed doubt, made sure heroes would always be questioned. That's enough. That's everything. In the Grand Galactic Museum that preserves human history, there's an exhibit dedicated to Marcus Chen. It's small, humble, just like he would have wanted. No statues of him looking heroic, no paintings making him seem larger than life, just the facts, the recordings, the evidence, the truth he died to preserve, and a simple plaque that reads, Marcus Chen, office worker, villain, revolutionary. He questioned when everyone else worshipped. He doubted when everyone else believed. He fought when everyone else surrendered. He changed a story that was supposed to end with his death. He taught humanity that heroes who demand worship are not heroes. And in doing so, he became the hero humanity actually needed. Not one to worship, but one to emulate. Not one to follow, but one to learn from. His legacy is not devotion. It's doubt. Not faith. It's questions. Not worship. It's freedom. Remember him, not as a savior, but as a teacher. Not as perfect, but as human. Not as the villain his story demanded, but as the person he chose to be. That choice changed everything, and that choice is available to everyone, forever. That's what Marcus proved. That's what he taught. That's what he died for. And that's what the universe will remember, until the stars burn out, until consciousness ends, until the last being capable of thought asks the final question, who decides what's true? Marcus answered that question, not with power, not with authority, not with claims of divine right, but with evidence, with recordings, with undeniable proof. The truth decides what's true, not heroes, not villains, just truth, simple, uncomfortable, essential. That's Marcus's gift. That's his eternal legacy. The villain who was never a villain. The hero who refused to be a hero. The man who just wanted to survive and ended up saving everyone by teaching them to save themselves through questions, through doubt, through the courage to look at beloved heroes and ask, are you really who you claim to be? That question echoes through eternity, through civilizations, through species, through time itself, all because one office worker reincarnated into a villain's body, discovered the hero was evil, and refused to stay silent. Even when silence meant survival, even when truth meant death, even when the entire world said he was wrong, he knew better. He saw clearly. He fought anyway. That's the story. That's the truth. That's the legacy. The villain who exposed the hero. The man who changed the story. The teacher who freed the world. Marcus Chen, forever remembered, forever honored, forever teaching. That one person can make a difference. That stories can change. That roles can be rejected. That truth matters. Always. No matter the cost. That's what he proved. That's what he died for. That's what humanity carries forward, into infinity. One uncomfortable truth at a time. One question at a time. One person brave enough to doubt. At a time, forever. The final truth about Marcus Chen is this. He didn't want to be remembered. Didn't want statues or stories or legends. He just wanted to live. To survive the impossible situation he was thrown into. But survival meant exposing lies. And exposing lies meant changing everything. So he became legend despite himself, became teacher despite not wanting students, became revolutionary despite seeking only to escape his role. That's the irony. The man who taught humanity to question heroes became a hero himself, but the right kind. The kind who doesn't demand worship, who doesn't claim perfection, who doesn't punish doubt. He's remembered not for what he was, but for what he taught. And that teaching is simple enough for a child to understand, but profound enough to reshape civilizations. Don't trust blindly. Don't worship completely. Don't accept narratives without question. Look beneath the surface. See through the mask. Remember that good and evil aren't always what they seem. That's it. That's the whole lesson. Marcus didn't need to be perfect to teach it. Didn't need to be powerful to prove it. He just needed to be brave enough to question when everyone else worshipped, stubborn enough to doubt when everyone else believed, human enough to see that heroes who seem too perfect probably are. That simplicity is why his lesson endures. It's not complicated. It's not esoteric. It's just, think for yourself. Question authority. Don't worship anyone. Ever. Even Marcus himself. Especially Marcus himself. He would hate being worshipped, would despise being elevated to sainthood, would reject any attempt to make him more than human, because he understood the danger, understood what worship does, how it blinds, how it enslaves, how it turns humans into tools for those they worship. So when people remember Marcus, they don't worship. They honor. They respect. They learn. They question. Even him. Even his story. Even his motives. That's what he would want. To be questioned. To be doubted. To be examined critically. Because that's proof his lesson took root. That humanity learned. That the cycle of worship was broken. And in breaking that cycle, Marcus achieved immortality. Not through worship, but through teaching. Through planting an idea that grew across millennia. Through showing that one person questioning a narrative can start a revolution. That's real power. That's real heroism. Not strength or magic or destiny, but courage. The courage to stand alone, to see truth others can't, to speak when silence is safer, to fight when defeat is certain. Marcus had that courage. He used it to expose a monster everyone loved, to save a world that wanted him dead, to teach a lesson that echoes through time. He reincarnated into the villain's body, but discovered the hero was the real monster. And in discovering that truth, in fighting for it, in dying for it, he became something the world had never seen. Not a hero, not a villain, but a teacher, showing humanity how to save itself, by thinking, by questioning, by refusing to worship, forever.